Welcome to the PRFFP, that is the Party Room Film Festival podcast. This is the podcast where we take a dive into the minds and behind the scenes of the films created for the Party Room Film Festival. This episode, I have Andrew King with me. Andrew, how are you doing?
Good. I'm happy to be on the TPRFFP.
The TPRFFP?
Yeah, the Party Room Film Festival podcast. TPRFFP.
You're including the.
Sure.
All right. This can either be the longest interview or the shortest interview, depending on how long the series goes. I simultaneously have a million questions about your film this year, and also one question, which is why?
Sure. And frankly, that's a question I've been asking myself for the better part of the last couple months as well. So
I'm sure that it is everybody's question whenever they watch it. I showed it to a few coworkers in the days leading up to this, and they were all like, wait, so he made this? Why did he do this? Why do y'all do this? And the reactions this film gets are astounding. They never fail to bring out the most visceral reactions from people.
Sure.
So that's a good legacy to have, I suppose.
What my filmmaking strategy has turned into definitely is essentially what we're going for is I want to convey to the audience exactly what's going to happen and then watch as they can do absolutely nothing to stop it. And that's sort of how I try and make my film. So in this film, clearly, I'm trying to even think of where to start because there is a lot to unpack about this film, I guess it's safe to say. But
I think I was trying to think of the best way to summarize this film, like if I was to be putting a review on a poster for it.
Sure.
And I think the most eloquent way to put it is regrettably memorable.
That's awesome. I could make that into a t-shirt. That would be awesome. But yeah, that's basically the strategy. And yeah, really what I learned after the first year, because the first year we did it, everyone, I think this has been said by all your guests on the program so far. So, Aaron, right. One. But basically the idea is just shocking definitely wins. Like if you're looking at, which films get the most votes, it's definitely the most shocking one. Sam's film was really shocking because you've got this ball joke, right? Mm-hmm. And so my whole idea was like, okay, I've got to do something just as shocking. And so when it was drawn, and okay, I'm going against Trevor for Unsightly. I mean, first of all, talk about a tough matchup. At this point, I'm basically just hoping like I can hang in there.
This is Trevor Smith, creator of Area 50 Love, which is what a nerd
a masterpiece, monument. The magnum opus of nerd filmmaking. I think you could. Mm-hmm. It's safe to say, and in a way, was the inspiration, but behind the festival as a whole. But basically. I'm like, okay, so, and the other thing too, is like, I felt, and this was just my strategy, so maybe Trevor would disagree, but I felt as a filmmaker, like, okay, Unsightly, you can either go sexual, you could go like just gross, or, I mean, basically those are the two unsightly routes you could go. And really, I was like, sexually, I'm not going to beat Trevor. Like if Trevor goes down that route, like he's got me because he will cross lines that I'm unable or unwilling, I should say, to cross. So
this is the same Trevor who showed up to The Purge and
yeah. So I was like, okay, so if that's where we're going, I'm definitely can't really hold my own there. So I knew early on, like, okay, this has got to just be like gross beyond gross. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but I was like, all right, we'll just kind of figure it out as we go. I seriously could not come up with anything, which was super different than the last year. Because last year I had an idea, I think it was within like 5 days. I was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I had it all scripted out. It was all ready to go. Filmed it all in a day, figured it out pretty quick. This film, basically, I just knew like, okay, the things that win are shocking and making something semi-short, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I've got this really funny idea, but they like overdo it, and then it stops being funny because it's gone too long, basically. So I was like, I just need to quit. I was like, I either need it to be like painfully long, and that's the gag, like Evil, my first year, or I need it to be like just really short, hit the joke, move on. I mean, that's what End of the Bloodline was, right? Just real quick, here's the ball joke, we're done, move on. So I had come up with a couple different ideas. Cody was my actor that had to be in my film. And so I was trying to think of how to use him. My original idea, basically, I was going to just DoorDash food, and Cody would be the DoorDash person. And the food I was ordering was all just going to be really gross sounding food, like not even a meal, just like gross food. So like, I would just have like a close up of my mouth, like eating Gushers, and it would be like an ASMR kind of thing for like 8 minutes, and it would just be like me, and I would like crank the noise up, and it was just going to be like brutally painful. And again, like stuff that doesn't go together, Gushers, and then pretzels, and it was basically going to do that for like 8 minutes. That was the whole thing. But
I can just hear that in my head right now.
Right.
And that's so diabolical. Why?
Exactly. And so that was always my backup. And I was like, okay, if I need to, I can just like film that real quick. This whole time, you know, I'm going to the Olympics. I think it's like July 10 or something. So I basically have a deadline. And I knew like, if I go to the Olympics without a film, I'm not making it over there. Like, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So I was going to leave on a Wednesday, and it was literally the Friday before that, and I had no idea what to do, and people kept saying like, we know you're kidding, and I was like, legitimately I'm not. Like, I really wish I was, but I have no. You thought you were one of the people who thought I was kidding, right?
No, I remember texting you and just saying like, hey, so do you actually not have an idea? And you being so serious, you're like, I leave in 5 days. I cannot think of anything. And I remember pitching you ideas saying, well, I have to clean up the production shop. Maybe I can time lapse that for you. You can play it backwards. And then it's, you know, now it becomes unsightly.
Right.
Like, I remember doing that. And because I was driving up to see my, at the time, girlfriend, now fiance, shout out.
Nice.
I remember,
nice drop. Yeah.
I'm just going to try I'm going to sneak that in every single episode.
Sure.
But I remember driving up, and you just like blew up my phone. You were like, I've got it. I know what I'm going to do. It's going to be great. I would love to hear what the light bulb moment was for you. What got that reaction? You were just like, I got it. No. I can do it really quickly. This is good. I don't need any more ideas. I got it.
Truthfully, well, okay. So I don't know the initial like idea inception, but I was like tossing it around in my head. Originally, I think it was going to be American Unsightly, the American Unsightly Cook-Off or something like that. And then I was like, okay, I mean, it's weak. Like, it doesn't really have that, like the hook that makes it like that extra laugh. It's just kind of like, I just throw ketchup everywhere. Like, it's just not like super funny. And then, but then when I remembered American Beauty and the like iconic poster, I was like, oh, I like have to do this now. So that was what I was like, okay, even if I just make this for the poster, I was like, I feel like I can at least win the poster contest or get pretty darn close to winning the poster contest with this, just on like reference and like gross factor alone. And I will say that was actually one of the interesting things in production is it turns out the poster, the original American Beauty poster, which I've never actually seen the movie. People were thinking it was going to be a spoof of that, and I would not be able to because I don't really know anything about that movie.
Me either.
Right. But other than it has Kevin Spacey. But the proportions, shall we say, in that poster don't necessarily go super well with a guy who doesn't really shave anything but his face. And that's really all I'll say there. So I kept trying to like match it up. And I like had opacity layers on to like try and like layer it and get it exactly where it needed to be. And I later just had to be like, look, this, you know, save my modesty. At some point, we're just going to have to give up on getting this to be like matching up belly buttons and stuff. But that's also, I will say, a difficult photo to take on your own, because that was the other thing. Nobody really helped at any point in this process. Like, it was legitimately, I filmed the whole thing myself. Well, I can back up a little bit more. So Friday, I had the idea. Saturday, so Sarah had like just left for the Olympics. So I was like, I want to do something like, nerdy kind of thing. So Josiah and then this intern from work, his name's Trenton, they came over to my place and watched the Lord of the Rings extended edition marathon. So we watched, it was like 13 hours on Saturday. But for dinner, we were going to make burgers. So I filmed that on Saturday. And that was with Josiah and Trenton, this other guy. And they were around, but I think I like set up all the shots and I didn't tell them what was happening. I was just like, in this film, there's like a cookout scene was basically all I said. So then that Sunday, I hadn't cleaned up from the night before. So I did that time lapse of that cleaning up. So that was one of those first shots.
So your house was actually that messy.
Yeah, because we had we had like pizza and we had like Mountain Dew bottles around. And so I was like, well, I'll just time lapse this and then that'll be my, my film basically. So yeah, so that was a natural mess. Josiah, I will say, I guess Josiah did help with that part because he did partake in the food. So, but as far as cinematographer, like I set up the tripod, and the most fun part for me was like filming it. And I was like, okay, and again, at no point was there a script for any of this. It was like complete like art film, free thought, like let's just kind of see what happens. That was me moving a chair, not me farting, if you heard that sound. But I mean, it could be whatever you want it to be at the end of the day. So then I would like download all the footage from my phone to the computer, edit it. And I was like, oh crap, I need this shot. So then I would unplug the phone, film a couple more things, and then threw it back into the program. Like, okay, crap, now I need this shot, this shot, this shot. And I basically just like, I went the entire day just back and forth, editing that. So yeah, at no point was there a script. At no point was there really a plan. It was all just spur of the moment execution. The only real plan was like, okay, this can't be any more than 3 minutes. Like if this thing is 3 minutes, it's not funny anymore. And really a part of it too was just the laziness of the filmmaking process that like got some of the jokes. So like in my first film, Evil, I used this song from Rocky, like the piano theme for American Unsightly. I was like, crap, I need like a really like somber thinking song. And I was like, well, I just used that last year. I guess I'll use that this year. So it's partially laziness, but I guess now I like have to use that song in every year in some way. So
it's going to be a little Easter egg for you for the
right
franchise.
That exactly. Then there's a song from like the tension rising song, without rambling too much. There's songs and different things like that I'll be using every year now, I guess, just because of the laziness of this year. So
it's interesting that you say lazy, because we went from a film like Evil, which was excellent, absolutely like beautifully shot, well thought out, and then we come to American Unsightly, and wouldn't you say that effort level is quite different?
Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah, and at the end of the day, obviously more people voted for Evil, but like American, I mean, and again, I think if I had to pick, I mean, I liked Evil more, but like, there's nothing that will beat that moment when like we were all watching it together, and there was like the quick snap cut to the tweezers, and this is what I told you earlier about, my strategy as a filmmaker is to like let the audience know what's happening, but then like watch as they can do nothing to stop it. Was hearing Stice go, "Oh God, no." So like, he got it like 5 seconds before everybody else did. And then it like it slowly started to trick. Oh, and also nobody in that room had seen it. Like my wife hadn't seen it. Like I think I had just sent it to my family, specifically my brother. And he was like, I'm dying. I love this. But yeah, nobody knew what was coming. And just to watch like everyone squirm in their seat as like they could see exactly what was happening, but they could do absolutely nothing to stop it. That will always just bring me joy. And Evil was great. Like I loved like the whole gimmick of like the stabbing. And again, I will say I feel like I've gotten shafted in some like really poor draws because like 2 years ago, I got horror with Zach, who's like the toughest person in that genre. And then like if there was someone in this group who like just embodied unsightly, it would be Trevor. And so I feel like my draws have just not been super fair this whole time. So really this year was just like, I'm probably not going to win. Trevor's probably not going to beat me, but I'm going to make this regrettably memorable.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that maybe if you don't punish your audience, they will vote for you. Maybe if you don't.
No, but that's not fun. Like because at the end of the day, would you rather have said like, well, okay, I don't even have to ask you. I'll just say for me, like, yeah, it was cool getting like second last year, but this year it was also cool where like everybody remembers my film. And when I talk to people, they're like, yeah, if I like want to show people what Party Room Film Festival is all about, I show them American Unsightly. And that means more to me than all the gold in the world.
I get it. I think that, punishing your audience might not always be the best strategy, but it works for Christopher Nolan. So
sure. Well, and I wouldn't call it punishing. I would call it, because art isn't punishing when done well, and obviously mine is. I would say
you would call that art. Okay.
I mean, art is in the eye of the beholder. So, I would consider it maybe not artistic. I would consider it expression.
I mean, sure. Yeah, this is expressive. That's for sure. It's definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, I was trying to figure out which one I like more, Evil or. I mean, Evil was probably more fun because I got to do it with Zach and his brother. So that was like a good time. This was more fun because I was just like, oh crap, I have this idea and I have like 48 hours to make this. So we're just gonna like gangbusters, just see what happens and do it. And people have like literally no idea what's gonna happen. So
yeah, that little rush of adrenaline when you have like this bombshell that you're about to drop on everybody. And like nobody knows what's coming, and you're just like, oh, give it 10 seconds.
Yep. I was like, I know what's about to happen, and no one else here does. And I could just like enjoy like watching people's faces, which was very enjoyable just to watch it sink in. So
that would be one cool thing is like if we had a camera pointed at the audience during festival night. That way we could actually see people's reactions to all of this stuff, because like I would love to see like, because like I'm obviously like I'm looking at the screen, so I can't like just be staring at the people next to me, or it's weird.
Well, and to be fair, you're like enthralled in the story and the journey that me as the artist have taken you on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Artist. So you can't really. Yeah.
Let me pull up Joseph Campbell's Heroes Circle and let's compare it to American Unsightly real quick.
Well, you definitely can't say his is regrettably memorable.
You're saying that your strategy is better than Joseph Campbell's for storytelling.
I'm saying they're equally memorable. But yes, if I had to, I don't really want to say that, I obviously like every art has its own like unique factors. And really at the end of the day, do you want to be voting on art and saying which art is better? But if you had to, yes, I would put mine first.
Fair enough.
Actually, really a fun fact. I don't even know if it really got out there because no one really asked about it, but everyone knows that wasn't a real mole, right?
That
was a chocolate chip.
I realized it 2 days ago whenever I was watching it, because I am blessed to have not seen you with your shirt off that often. Sure. So I have never known, but I watched it, and whenever you do the shot of you like licking the ketchup off the shoulder, I was like, wait, it's not there anymore. What actually is it?
Yeah, so it was a dark chocolate that I just shaved a bit off the corner of, and then I got it wet and just kind of molded it and just like pressed it onto my skin to try and get it stuck. And what I didn't try and do, but what ended up happening was because I was like pressing it onto my skin to get it stuck there, it ended up just like making my skin super red. So it looked kind of a little more real. But yeah, it was just a chocolate.
It does look really good. I would say
very much so.
Like as far as like practical effects go, like, you know, you didn't have to go to the store to get a stick-on mole or anything. It does look really good.
Yeah, no, and that again, that was the thing. Like if I wanted to do that, I would not have had the time to plan that out. So it was legitimately like, well, I hope this, you know, looks like a mole. And that was the thing. No one ended up asking if it was real or not. And I realized that later. I was like, people probably think I pulled off a real mole, but it was just a chocolate chip.
No, I don't think anybody thought it actually happened. I think people were just horrified and really didn't want to like press about it. I don't think anybody wanted to ask questions, which is why I'm super brave for doing this interview. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, you know,
I do have, and like this might just be the dumbest question there is, but it is important to me for some reason. Why on the back left shoulder? Like, why not on the neck? Why not on the stomach? Like, was there any reason for that? I really am curious about this. Like,
that's a good question. Honestly, probably because of my back right shoulder, I do have a legitimate mole. So I was like, maybe that's just where I assumed moles go. Well, and originally the plan was like, we'll have, you know, I'll be shirtless for it. But then I was like, well, I don't really want to be shirtless. I'll just blur it out. That'll be funnier. And then I was like, well, shoot, my rule is like there's no nudity except your own, and it has to be full frontal. And then I was like,
Mitchell Judy rule.
The Mitchell Judy rule. Sure. Yeah. So then I was trying to like, in the chat, I was like, hey, so I have like some partial like chestal nudity, but it's like a medical procedure. So that's why like in the chat, like, after I filmed it all, I was like, what is everyone's thoughts on this? And at the end of the day, I was like, it doesn't matter because it's not like a bare butt and side boob. So, which is really the idea of why the rule is in place. So, you know.
You want to call him out a little bit more, Andrew?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah. It comes festival night. It was everybody's first time viewing this, including your wife. And I actually remember looking back, because I looked back at you to try and get a view of the psychopath who was making this.
Right.
But I saw your wife right next to you, and the look of utter horror on her face.
Yes, not a fan. I think it's fair to say. But again, you know, I don't make art for fans. I make art for art.
Tell me a little bit about her reaction to all of this.
She was, I don't know. Sarah, what was your reaction to American Unsightly? She did not like it. Why did you not like it? It was gross. What about it was good? Yeah. She forgot it was my movie. But like, as you were watching it, what were your thoughts?
I wanted to stop watching it.
She wanted to stop watching it. Why? Was there a specific moment?
First of all,
here, hold on. I'm gonna move closer to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, you told me about your film, and I really didn't think it was gonna be funny, and I was right. It wasn't. So, are you laughing at me? I'm being serious. You told me about your film, and I was already like not excited about it. So, expectations. So when I saw it, it didn't meet really any expectations. I'm being serious. I'm being real. Anyway, we're gonna keep laughing at me. That's all I have to say.
No, but like, why at the end of the day did you not vote for it? Because we found out. I didn't think about it, but I lost by one vote and found out later that your vote.
I thought it was like, you know, when you're in high school and you're voted on homecoming court, and it's like you can't vote for yourself.
Right.
So I felt like I couldn't vote for my husband.
Right.
So I voted for Trevor. Also, I liked Trevor's film more. So
Mm.
anyway,
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, there it is.
Can Sarah hear me right now?
No, she can't hear you.
I would like to know if she will ever, after watching that and learning your filmmaking process, will she ever participate or act in one of your films?
Well, I'll see what she answer. Will you ever participate or act in any of my films after watching that?
it depends on whether or not I like the concept.
Depends on whether or not she likes the concept.
Okay.
And we have discussed some ideas for upcoming years. And one of my ideas, she was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And then one idea, she was like, "Oh, I definitely will do that." So
Okay.
my next idea or two, she is a big fan of. So
Okay,
yeah, so
that's
that's
good.
definitely, yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah, but that was kind of the beauty about this film, was I was just like, I don't want anybody involved. Like, I want everybody watching it to have not seen it and then just watch faces melt.
Mhm. And you also just wanted to see, how strong is my marriage? Let's see. Let's test the waters a little bit. Will she leave me after this?
Right, right. Well, yeah, she was not a fan of the poster. I mean, again, when the whole idea of the film, I was like, at the end of the day, is this like film gonna win? Like, no. Like, I might win my category depending on what Trevor can pull off.
Mhm.
I do find it interesting that many people voted for Trevor, despite the fact that he turned in his film like 10 days late. But
Mhm.
that's neither here nor there. That's just, I think that's interesting, and bears repeating to the larger audience as a whole. But regardless of how late his film was or wasn't, and in fact was, substantially late, I do think that I have created, I want to say, the epitome of a party room film festival film, like a shocking, a a why the heck, if you will, film.
Mhm.
And really, at the end of the day, that was the goal. So did I win? No, I didn't think I really had a shot at winning. When we were putting together the order, obviously the place no one wants to go is first, because by
Yeah.
the time you get to the end, you've kind of forgotten that. And I
Mhm.
told, like, Zach and Josiah, before they'd even seen what I had done, but I was like, look, if whatever film is first, like, you don't think that would be a good opening, like, I'm happy to go first, because I do think it'll get everyone in the right mindset, shall we say. But Trevor went first, and his was, as equally as good in first. So, albeit late.
You really can't let that go, that it was late and that you lost to a late submission, can you?
I mean, I don't think it's about letting go. I just think it's important that people, remember, especially people, I'd say, who turned in their movies on time, that there is a special, I don't want to say privilege, I want to say mindset, a special mindset to those who, do commit to the, the organization and the academy and the statutes as laid out by the designers. And I think that's important as we go on, and in voting as a whole, to just kind of remember, who turned in on time and who didn't. And obviously, I wouldn't want to, adjust the vote in any way particularly, but I do think, I mean, was I robbed of the win? Who's to say? But yes. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter all that much, because there's plenty more years, and I'm happy with my final product.
I would, again, I'm just playing devil's advocate with you today. Do
Sure.
you think that
Mhm.
Trevor's film was late?
Sure.
I'll agree with that. It was late, but it was so perfect that the voters were willing to overlook the tardiness of his film and
Well, I
vote
think,
for it.
sorry. Well, sure. And I think that's evidenced at the end of the day in the will of the voters as a whole. I think, when all I can speak for is my own voting priorities, and whenever I approach, voting as an institution or anything like that, I try to take into account the things that are important in my own life, and the morals and principles, rather, not morals, but the principles that I like to hold in my life, and I like to see that reflected in the people that I vote for. So I do think that's important, but clearly, as we've seen in Party Room Film Festival history, people tend not to hold the principle of being on time, and for some, tardiness might be a principle of theirs. So in that sense, I think they were well within their rights to vote for Trevor's, even though his film was abysmally late.
All right, let's try to lighten the mood here. I can feel your heart getting bitter. So let's try to lighten the mood.
His movie was hilarious. It was really good. It was fun.
If time, see, this question, I don't know how it will go, because this is basically a film full of pickup shots, like you said, never had a script or anything. And it was created within basically 48 hours. And I don't think it would be good if you had longer.
Sure.
But if time or budget wasn't an issue, would you have gone back, and what would be different for it?
Oh, that's a good question. I definitely have someone help me film it. I'd probably have shot it a lot, I don't know, more handheld or something, just to give it a more like visceral feel. I am very happy with my aspect ratio choices. Very happy with the box look. I don't think I would really change anything. I would probably do something a little more involved, but I don't really know what that would be per se. That's a good question though.
Yeah, like I said, that's a difficult question for this film, because the time restraint that was put on it is partly what makes it good, what contributes to its greatness. And
exactly. If you gave well, first off, if you gave people two things, if you gave people 5 months to do this, first of all, you would have like really complicated things, and like it just doesn't have to be. Like if you are spending, well, I don't want to say that, but you can definitely, I think it's fair to say you can spend too long on some of this stuff. So, but the other thing I will say is, like, even if we gave people 5 months, people still wouldn't do it on time. Like this year, because people were going to the Olympics, they wanted 2 months, and we had more people turn in late this year than last year. So, it just, it happens.
Yeah, we're getting that number up, and I'm really proud of us for that.
The late numbers?
Yeah. We're going to have an even higher score next year. I'm really proud of us.
Sure.
Do you have any Easter eggs or fun little things that are in there?
So I like Breaking Bad. So I, did the POV kind of shot of the burger flipping thing, but I had to get a plastic. So I had to get a plastic shovel. And then I held, my spatula has holes in it. So I used a tripod head and a phone holder and stuck it into the spatula. So the spatula was essentially a tripod. And then I held the plastic shovel on top of that to get like the POV flipping shot. The piano song is from Rocky. And really, actually, the music, I used at least three different things I can think of this year that I did last year. So this year, basically the whole sequence from when I look at the fridge and say, "You are what you eat," or the fridge says that, is the exact same, almost the exact same audio sequence as Evil. So I look at the fridge, you hear that piano music, and then there's that high string thing that kind of rises the tension. Basically that audio sequence was the exact same as what I did in Evil, because I was running out of time, and it worked well. And then it was also the exact same thunderclap sound as Evil, the same sound effect and everything. So those, I'm probably gonna at least do my best to use those 3 sound effects or 2 songs and sound effects every year.
Where do you go from here after creating something like American Unsightly? Do you get even lazier, and next year is going to be within 14 hours instead of 48?
Yeah,
what does the future look like for Andrew King?
Now that I'm closer to home, I want to get my family involved. Like I said, my brother has a very similar sense of humor, so I might try and get him involved somehow in some way. So,
are there any plans or concept? You said that you've had a couple ideas about what you're wanting to do for your film next year. Do you want to tease anything? Say oh, I'm doing I'm going to be playing with this concept. Do you want to give any type
Sure.
of preview or?
Well, it will definitely be more story based.
More story based than American
it'll
Unsightly? What?
Yeah, I know. Hard to believe. More story based, more. I mean, it's tough because I really don't like keeping secrets. I will say that being here in Washington D.C., I have been scouting locations for future films, and I think I definitely have been inspired by the location for future ideas that I have.
That is very exciting, actually.
There we go. Yes.
Where actually no, while we're still talking about your future films, can I be in them?
I actually I think well, you and I maybe we're talking about it once. I have an idea for like a recurring thing, and I think I had an idea for you for one of them. But yeah, I mean, I think any chance you get to work with the fabled Jacob McGlone is definitely a chance you want to pass on. But if you're given, or rather if you're forced to work with Jacob, then obviously you take whatever you can, and I'm sure we can find something for you.
Yeah, I can't help but blame myself for Sam Maddox's loss this year.
Well, here's what was so hard was
it was a perfect script, but he
yeah.
got me, and I think that's why he did not win this year.
Yeah, personally, that's why I didn't vote for it. Because I just didn't find the main character that believable. And it wasn't really through writing. I would say it was just purely based on the acting. But
I heard he did his own stunts in that film.
That's why it looked awkward.
or really good. I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, did you see that tumbling scene? Tom Cruise couldn't do that.
Well, yeah, maybe. No, but honestly, that's what was so fun about this year was like, if any, there were like, I mean, there could have been like 10 that if anyone had done those last year, they could have like won or come pretty darn close to win. Maybe not won because Sam's was that good, but there were a lot that like would have done super well last year, but the competition was just so much higher this year that it was like not possible.
Speaking of last year versus this year, let's say we show Evil and American Unsightly. What do you think wins? Evil or American Unsightly? Which is the better one?
Honestly, well, now you've given me an idea. It would be really fun to like do like a bet, like on the 5-year anniversary or something, like the best of 5 years. Or anyway, but that's beside the point. I would say Evil, but again, I didn't really make. I mean, this sounds dumb because like I didn't win, but I didn't really make. I thought I could win with Evil. I didn't think I would win with American Unsightly, but that was fine because that wasn't really the point. It was kind of just to like be ridiculous. But yeah, people would probably vote for Evil. Would you agree?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because it is more story based and everything.
Yeah.
But the shock factor definitely was there for American Unsightly. But I do think that Evil would probably win.
I do. Well, and Evil 2 was just like the jokes I felt hit, and like Zach and his brother were like really perfect for it. And I packed a lot into like 7 minutes with that.
Yeah. I think maybe you thought that you couldn't beat it, and that's why you didn't put forth the effort this year.
That's possible, but like legitimately, like I had no ideas. Now, like this next year, like if I put something to the equivalent of like my film next year will be more Evil like than American Unsightly, because like I legitimately have an idea for this year, and if I'm able to pull it off, either way I go, if I'm able to pull it off, it will be pretty funny, I think. So that's a good point. That what would be the favorite out of those two?
Yeah, I mean, I know that my submission this year, the Fever Dream versus
Oh,
the
well, and
like
dude,
love story that definitely beats out
yeah, well, but that
very
was like,
easily.
I mean, yours is like an all-timer though, because yours was like, I, I mean, it was just so perfect. Like it was like, because I was thinking about it before we talked too. I was like, Jacob's was one that was like one of the longer ones, but didn't feel like it because it like you kept it moving. Enough happens. The scene, and even where like scenes where other people would find pitfalls, where like okay, you've got to build a time machine, right? Like some people would have like a big like sequence that's like 2 minutes long of building a time machine, and you were just like, screw it, we don't need it. That's not the main point. So you did it in like 10 seconds, and it's like, okay, there's no time machine, and like 20 seconds later, there's a time machine, right? And that's like all we need, like because you don't have to think it through. But yeah, like all the detail you put into it and all the little stuff, like yours is an all timer. I mean, again, it's like if you didn't run into the rotten roommate, you'd have been the champion. And if I didn't run into End of the Bloodline, then I will say last year.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say if I didn't run into unsightly zombies, then I could have won it this year.
Oh well, no. I meant like because but yeah, I will say we got to pressure Stice to make us some analytics more, because I definitely want to know, like, okay, does the presence of a dog in your film, how does that affect, point totals and stuff like that?
Speaking of the analytics and like, if there is a Moneyball way to go about creating the best PRFF submission, what do you think is the algorithm for the perfect film?
Okay, so definitely like violent blood shock would be primary, because End of the Bloodline had that, Evil had that, yours had that, Aaron's had that, and so that's first and second overall last year and this year. I do think how long was yours?
Oh, mine I believe was just barely under the time limit, like 8 minutes 3 seconds or something like that.
I think Aaron's was 6 minutes, but his was fairly quick. I feel like Segler's was like 4 or 5 minutes, and his was fairly quick. So like I will say generally, not in every case, and obviously there probably will be change. And yours, I guess, was long, but like I would say the sweet spot is like 4 to 5 minutes, either like really short or 4 to 5 minutes. It's kind of the sweet spot. But yeah, really just like pure shock factor. Like if you want to win, you've got to convince a group of guys who feel like they've seen it all, just like what the heck is happening.
Where do you see the festival going 10 years from now?
Well, as we all like, go down our careers and like, are more like financially stable and stuff, we'll be willing to like, and probably not, but we will be, or probably shouldn't be, but we'll be willing to spend more and more money on stuff like this. So, I mean, I think the budgets will get bigger, and like everyone's going to have their idea where they're going to be like, all right, we've got to go super hard on this. So I think that would definitely be something. I'm excited. I feel like Zach has said this already. If not, maybe you want to run this by him first, but I feel like he said that festival this year, we're going to try to do it his place and do it like an outside screening by his lake, which would be really cool. I feel like he's made that public. If not, then sorry, Zach, but
no, he did. You're good.
Yeah, I thought he did. I would kind of like, and if we were still in the area, obviously, like we'll still help, but it's a little harder. We'd like to. Sarah and I were talking about doing like a fry bar or something like that for the food.
Better venues, better catering.
Right, better catering. Yeah, like it might. And honestly, what worked really well last year was just like, okay, if you're showing up, you owe $5. And it like that's just like it covers everything. And we had a decent amount of food. I know no one took anything home, so Sarah and I had a bunch of pizza left over. So yeah, I mean that was the I mean I hope it just kind of and what's going to be really exciting hopefully is like eventually we'll have kids, and like there will be kids in films and all that stuff, which I think will be kind of, so maybe eventually they'll start to tone down.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first on the PRFF podcast. Andrew King and his wife are having a child. Congratulations, buddy.
Nope, we did not say
for
it.
He's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow.
I will say we do have kids, and we've got 12 of them, and most still can't get the film in on time. So
You'll have kids when the films are in on time, when
Yeah.
your other kids grow up.
right. So probably when like half of y'all die from old age, then we'll be like, all right, I guess the responsible ones got their films in on time, and now we can think about having kids now that we're in our 80s. So
I said it in the group chat, but I love how it has gone from, when pigs fly to, when all the films are submitted on time, that's when this happens, because it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah, basically. Yeah, no, but again, it's like, I picked on Trevor earlier, but he had like a legitimate reason. He was like studying for a test. So,
oh yeah, he had a like massive thing going on this past year.
I would never tell him this, and obviously keep this between us. But he's probably the smartest one in the group, and obviously, don't share that. And I know you'll keep that between us, but
absolutely. I mean, I don't think he actually checks the chat anyway, so this probably will fly completely under his radar. So it doesn't matter. There are certain people we can talk so much about right now. Like, we can say anything we want to about Paul.
Yeah,
we could say.
Yeah, he probably won't hear it. Cody checks it every now and then. He's in and out. Yeah.
Landers. I think Landers hasn't said anything since like June or August, I guess.
Yeah, I told him to listen to the podcast with Aaron. Actually, I listened to it twice.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like doing a bunch of graphic design stuff at work, so I was just like, trying to listen to something while I work. So it was really funny because like they were having like some really serious like strategy discussion, and I was just like working on because our office is like it's just like a square room, and all the desks on the outside, and there's like a conference table in the middle. But there's like no walls, so everyone could just kind of hear everything. And they were just talking about like important strategy stuff, and I was like trying to hold in laughter listening to Aaron talk about his film. So I was like, they're trying to run the Senate, and I'm like listening to a stupid podcast that like 5 people listen to.
Creating things with your friends and creating things for your friends is
right. Well, and that's what's so fun too. And like, in 5 years we will have 60 films. Like, think about that. Like, because 12 times 5, you'll have 60 just ridiculous, stupid films in 5 years. So then in like 20, you'll have 240, right? Like, I mean, just think about like how crazy, and that's not the commercials people make, because we didn't even talk about those. Those are a blast. Like, it's just going to be very fun. And well, the other thing too is like, we don't know what technology is going to look like. So like hypothetically in the future, there could be some like, different like easy technology. And I think I was talking to Stice, like we were talking about the camera cinema mode that's on like iPhones now. So like our films can get like cinematic looking. Like there's just all sorts of fun stuff that we can do, and see how this grows. Yeah. And the other thing I will say that's too is like when I had this idea, like I went to Zach and he's like, oh, this is awesome, but we need the technology stuff. So we went to Josiah, and he like came up with ideas and help with technology and all this stuff. But like, this only works because I like what Aaron said. It only works because you get out what you put into it. It's awesome that like everyone legitimately tries really hard, and that's what makes it fun. Because if like 3 people tried really hard, this would last like 3 years. But like this year, like everybody tried really hard, and it'll keep going because like people like making stupid stuff.
Absolutely.
And making fun of each other. Yeah.
And making fun of each other, of course. All right.
Exactly.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great talking to you, and great getting to the bottom of why the crap you would ever make something like American Unsightly.
Yeah, if you ever figure it out, let me know.
This has been the PRFF podcast, and I'm just hanging out
with my family.
That was terrible.